my experience, especially with, and I'm just going to use the term high value, like productive, emotionally aware, even non-emotionally aware white men typically don't settle. So they're not like, let's just, you could not even like, how do I want to say this? Like, as a white man, you don't even really need to be offering too much, but usually they pick winners. And I'm saying they very generally, very generally, right? So like in my experience, like if I were to even think about, in my own family, like most of those people married equal or above.
The men? The white men?
Yeah, the men. The men. Yeah, everyone in my family has either married equal or above or far above. So, like, and far above meaning like a lot of different things, right? But they're definitely, they understand and they see value and they know how to recognize that. And I think if you were to just bust it even more open, like more like men in general are looking for someone or a person to add value to their life, period. And I think that goes outside of race, right? That goes outside of just a white man or a white man preference. Like, so if you're at the gym and you're not offering anything of value, you're not going to get stares. You're not going to get looks. Like that's just the truth, and there, I feel like there's also like an air about you, especially at the gym of confidence, or anywhere that you are at, of confidence. And I think men are pretty good bull, like shit readers, and can tell whether you're being fake or not. And if you're really fake, a lot of guys don't really want to deal with that. And again, I'm not saying anything about this particular woman. I'm just saying, like, at the, finding someone on a hike, like, you're not going to pick up somebody on a hike. Usually people are hiking with their friends and or hiking because they don't want to be around people. So like, you're not going to find someone on a hike. I mean, maybe.
You're just saying
everywhere. Yeah. Like this guy, where do you find them? Everywhere. They're everywhere. Just look around.
Yeah.
Totally.
So like doing a video, I mean, my first thought looking at that video was just like, you're telling on yourself. If you have a hard time finding a population that's like, I don't want to say the most likely to be here, but like white people are a majority in the US. So if you're having a hard time finding like the majority of people who exist here, then you're already telling on yourself. Like, we know where you're living or where you're coming from.
Like, and it's, where are you hanging out?
Right.
And so like all of that matters too. And so it's like, there are certain places, and being in the Bay Area for like 10 years, there's places that I knew I could go to where I would be around a majority of white people. Mm-hmm. There would be places that I could go to where I knew I was going to be the only white person there. Yeah. Like, if you're paying attention, you can find the places where those people hang out. And then the question is like, how do you assimilate to those environments enough to be appealing?
Right. But you hit the nail on the head. It's like, at the end of the day, you have to be offering something. Just meeting a white guy doesn't mean that you're going to be getting a marriage proposal. It's like, okay,
no.
What are you offering?
How are you adding value to said white guy's life? Especially if he's already well established, doesn't really need much. Like, one of the things that, if I'm just thinking about my relationship with the white guy that I had like 10 years ago, he didn't really need me. Like, I was there because he liked my company. He likely liked how I looked. He liked that I came from a good family and that and all these things, but he didn't really need my help or like need me. And if you're thinking about like being in a marriage with someone, and I say this all the time, is like, your job as like, if we're taking the biblical approach to it, is to be your helpmate to your husband. So how are you helping your partner, the person you're dating, the person you're married to? Like, how are you helping them? And what do you have to offer? It comes back to like, what do you have to offer? And does that person like what you have to offer? So
basic stuff. Yeah.
Basics. Yeah, basics.
Hello, hello, hello. How is it going, everybody? Shout out to you in the building. Shout out to Demetrius for being here. So good to see you guys. It's good to be back, kind of. You guys know I was enjoying Hawaii. I have a lot of more fun photos to share. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do like just community tab posts or if I want to do a recap of like how to make the best of Hawaii on a budget. I had a great time doing a lot of free stuff. So we'll see. We'll see. But anyways, good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. If you like what is going on, as always, be sure to hit the like button. Like, share, subscribe. Also, as always, be sure to support your favorite content creators. You can find me on Cash App or Venmo Sade. As always, I'll be sure to acknowledge all super chats, Cash Apps, and all that jazz. So thank you guys so much for being here. What's going on, everybody who was coming in? This is an interesting topic, of course. I might get a little bit of pushback. I'll probably get some pushback. This is nothing to be surprised. But what inspired this topic is, well, I'm sure by now you guys have heard of the whole Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift drama, which I truthfully don't even understand why that's a thing. Like, why this is even a thing. But I think the fact that it has become a thing and it has become just a lot of controversial, especially in the Black community, especially among Black women, really proves my point time and time again. The amount of times that I continue to be gaslit, not only with data and information, but with real anecdotal evidence, it's at the point right now where it's almost insane. And this is partially why I continue to talk about what we all know to be true, because for some reason it is incredibly uncomfortable to acknowledge the obvious truth when it comes to current dating and mating dynamics, how people choose, how women choose, in this case, how Black women choose. And for all the gaslighting I get, every 15 seconds there seems to be more and more anecdotal evidence to show that, things are not what they seem. And ultimately, there's a lot of women out there who are just bought into the BS. So that's what we're going to unpack a little bit today. I have a lot to go over for you guys. And the interview, I may play it a little bit later on in the live, but the interview I just showed to you guys, that was one I did months ago with a good friend of mine. And we were looking at divesting and swirling. And my thought is, if ladies are actually serious, if they are serious about wanting to divest and wanting to swirl and wanting to escape Blackistan, as some of these ladies put it, and if they want to understand how to land their own rich white men or their own high value man, they should be taking lessons from white women. This is my thought. Like, if you're really serious about this. So naturally, I brought in one of my friends to talk about the whole movement and just get her perspective on it. And her perspective, just, from a white woman point of view, what does that mean? What do you think about it? And so that was the whole interview. I did it a couple of months ago, really digging deep into this whole idea on whether or not these ideas are true or false. So that's what that was about. That was a snippet. That's what the snippet was from. Check it out if you want to. But today we're going to be focusing on the question of, are Black women willing to compete for white men? Now, I know there's going to be people out there who think this question is absolutely ridiculous. It seems like it's coming from out of left field, but it's not. And the reason I say that is you cannot talk about dating and mating today among Black women, among especially Black American women, if you do not include swirling. Swirling. For those who don't know what swirling is, it is just dating out, interracially dating. That was a term. I want to say that term was coined by Crystalline Carrison, I think back in the 90s. If I am wrong, somebody let me know in the comment section. But I didn't make this up. I think she's the one that really coined it, and it is kind of taken on its own life today. But that is basically, Black women who are expanding their options or dating out to non-Black men, primarily white men. So you can't talk about dating trends today without including swirling, because all of you guys know who are in the Black community, whether or not you want to acknowledge it or don't, that there's always been this idea of Black women needing to date out, whether it's because we're all the good Black men, so they have to date out because they're all in jail or they're gay or they're snowbinding, they're with white women or whatever. So there's that idea. Or the needing to date out to white men or other races of men because Black men don't know how to take care of the woman and they're oppressive, or needing to date out because Black men aren't interested. So you guys have all heard the different reasons as to why, but nevertheless, the reasons exist. And so again, I find it so interesting to me when I talk about what is obvious, and I get a lot of pushback and a lot of gaslighting from some Black women, and then some from Black men too, who act like this isn't a thing. And I'm like, I don't know where y'all been the last couple of decades. But so I get the pushback, and then we have situations like what happened within the last couple of days where Black women were really in their feelings. Of course, not all Black women, I have to do that caveat, but there were a significant amount enough Black women who were in their feelings over a white man being interested in a white woman. Now, again, why is that important and why did that happen? The reason that happened was because this particular white man previously had a history of dating Black women. And a lot of Black women were happy about that. You have people who were, celebrating, thinking, oh, this is a man that's really down for the cause, whatever, whatever. And then things broke up, and now he's, we don't know if the relationship is confirmed, but he's definitely shown interest in Taylor Swift, which I don't even know why this is surprising. So this is where we're at now. Quick recap for you guys. So this was the last confirmed girlfriend that we know of Travis Kelce. He was with, I think it's Kayla Nicole, that's her name. Beautiful Black woman, Instagram model, as far as I understand, and also I think a sportscaster, if I'm not mistaken. But they were together, and so obviously a lot of the lovely ladies took pride in this, right? You have a very successful NFL player who was showing interest in openly claiming a Black woman. So this was his last ex-girlfriend confirmed. Now, fast forward, they're no longer together. There's different ideas as to why. Some people are saying it's because he cheated. Other people are saying it's because she had a bad attitude. Some are saying it's because he was cheap. All rumors. We don't fully know what is true. All of it could be true and none of it could be true. But nevertheless, what we do know is that they are not together. Now, fast forward, and Taylor Swift was recently spotted at a game where he was playing, high-fiving Travis Kelce's mom, I think in the suite with his mom. And so this, again, has been making news over the last couple of days. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors, and different things about the relationship. Are they dating? Are they not dating? He's been a little bit not so upfront. I mean, he's alluded to things, but I don't think he's openly claimed, and she hasn't openly claimed him. But nevertheless, there's a lot of speculation as to what is going on. Real quick, actually, I want to share this tweet real quick for some context so you guys know what's going on. Let me see. Is it this one? Let us see. So I want to kind of show you guys some of what he said regarding Taylor Swift. Actually, let me play this. I'm going to play this so you guys just get a sense. Okay. So this is what was played. Let me know if you guys can actually hear it, if you guys can hear the interview. But this is something like a quick clip of an interview he did a couple of days ago when Travis Kelce was responding to Taylor Swift.
How's it feel that Taylor Swift has finally put you on the map?
Shout out to Taylor for pulling up. That was pretty ballsy.
Travis Kelce is opening up about his internet-breaking weekend with Taylor Swift.
Oh, so you guys, wait, you guys can't hear the sound? Are you guys not able to hear the sound at all? Have I been playing that thing the entire time and you guys can't hear the sound? Oh man, no sound. Okay, I'm so sorry. You guys. So I played that whole thing and y'all didn't hear no sound. Okay. Well, let me do part 2. I'm sorry about that. I'm just now seeing that. Let me do this since I know sometimes it does get weird. Here's a snippet of basically, let's try this right here. Here's a snippet of basically what he said in his interview, and quote, Travis Kelce speaks out about Taylor Swift and their first public appearance. It says, shout out to Taylor for pulling up. She looked amazing. Everyone was talking about her in a great light. Was definitely a game I will remember. Then we just slid off in the getaway car at the end, I guess referencing her music. I'm honestly, I don't really listen to Taylor Swift like that, but yeah. So, I mean, that was it. He had an interview and he didn't really. Okay. He's also, you guys said you guys heard the first 5 seconds. Oh, I think I understand why. Okay, all good. Well, anyways, I mean, you guys got the idea. He had an interview. He didn't really go into a lot of detail about it. Just talked about she made an appearance. They've kind of had interaction in the past, and that's all we know. So nothing has been actually confirmed, but we just know that they showed up together, and then the rest is to be determined. But with that said, whether the relationship is true or not true, that did not stop the lovely ladies from reacting. And so there were some who basically alluded to the fact that, look, this dude, first of all, this dude is wrong because he clearly doesn't like Black women. He was using Black women and he just saw them as a fetish. So let me look at, I think this is this one. Is this it? There's so many. Oh, no, that's it. That's actually the one that I posted, that white men are coming to save Black women. Guys, that is relevant. Just FYI, white men are not coming to save Black women from their issues with white men. So that is true, but that's actually not the tweet that I wanted. The tweet that I wanted is, let's see if I can find it. I have so many up right now. This is not it. This is not it. Okay, sorry guys, bear with me. Stop screen. It is this one right here. There was a couple that went viral, but one of them was this. Where it says, for you to go from Kayla Nicole to Taylor Swift, with you never liked Black women to begin with. You were just satisfying some kind of weird fetish. Now you are done and back on your actual type. That particular tweet got over 7 million views. A lot of people interacted with it. Of course, you had some people who were in agreement. You had some people who were just like, look, you're crazy, yada, 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 yada. But really, this tweet got a lot of feedback, over 7 million views. And I think this particular lovely lady is really showing the ideology and the perspective of some lovely ladies out there today, that I guess once a man, maybe a non-Black man, a white man, shows interest to a Black woman, if he goes back and dates a woman of his own community, somehow he was just fetishizing her, whatever. So there was that side that happened, right? Black woman being mad, thinking that he just had a fetish for Black women. He wasn't serious. And now he's going back to his type. So you had that. Then you also had another tweet that recently went viral of why people were mad. And this one was kind of around this whole idea of Travis Kelce, I guess, dating down. And it literally reads, to go from Kayla Nicole to Taylor Swift has to be the biggest downgrade I've witnessed. Yikes. And so this again was around the idea of this dude is dating down because he went from Kayla Nicole to Taylor Swift. I mean, now obviously, if we really want to talk about dating down, here's just a few stats for you. Let me see. Here's just a few stats for you guys who want to say that he actually dated down. Since Taylor Swift showed up to Sunday's Chiefs Bears game, there was a 400% spike in Travis Kelce jersey sales. Kelce's podcast ranks #1 overall on Apple. Kelce adds 383K Instagram followers. 24.3 million viewers watched. It was the #1 game this week. There was a 63% jump in female viewers between the ages of 18 to 49. There was a 3 times increase in Chiefs searches on the web, 3 times increase in Chiefs sales on StubHub. Chiefs sold more tickets in a single day since the start of the season. So this whole idea of him somehow leveling down because he went from Kayla Nicole to Taylor Swift. I mean, I don't even know how you even come to that conclusion. If you're talking preferences, that goes down to a man's type, right? And really what we know, like, is men are generally race loyal across the board, especially more high value, high earning men. They're generally race loyal. So it's not uncommon to see a white man prefer white women and like European white features. That is not uncommon. It's not surprising. It's not surprising to see Black men who may have a preference for a darker skinned woman or a curvier woman, a woman with hips, booty, thighs. Like, men generally are attracted to their phenotype, generally speaking. So just from a perspective of, oh, was he leveling down in looks? No, not necessarily. A white man choosing a white woman and white beauty standards actually seems to make more sense. And then if we're just looking at just apples to apples from a monetary perspective or value being added, as my friend alluded to earlier on in the live, do y'all see the value that was added just by her appearing? They're not even confirmed to be dating yet. Just by her appearing to one of his games, sales shot up. He got more money. He got more followers. He got more views. He's getting, getting more success just from her showing up to one of his games. So, I mean, there's just really is no comparison between one adding a value versus not. It's like, it's Taylor Swift. She's an entire brand. And this is no shade to Kayla Nicole. She's doing her thing. But I'm like, I don't understand why people have these weird reasons, these needs to try to compare women and then try to compare things that are just really illogical. It's like, yeah, you guys are like, it's even a question. So these are some of the different ideas going around, people saying, oh, he leveled down because he's married a white woman that doesn't have a booty. I guess that was one of the things. Totally ridiculous. And then also Black women who were mad that he dated a Black woman and then now is back to a white woman. So this has been the whole conversation. I wanted to show you guys some of the different social media, conversations that have been going on back and forth. With that said, this entire scenario to me goes back, I think, to my original point of, are Black women willing to compete for white men? For those of you out there who think that's a ridiculous question, you have to explain to me why now the internet is ablaze because a white man chose is showing interest in a white woman. We don't know if they're dating, but is showing interest in a white woman. You have Black women, throwing tantrums because a white guy chose to find interest in a woman from his community. So what that is clearly showing, whether or not you want to agree, whether or not you want to admit it, is that there are those among us who obviously have a preference and who obviously wish and who obviously want to be with that man, with that white man, who obviously see white men as their savior. I've said this multiple times and I continue to be gaslit, which is why I continue to bring it up. Because all I have to do is just get off social media for 2 days and come back and there's another story that's kind of proving my point. We know, of course not all, but we know that there is a subset of Black women in the community that generally thirst after white men. And why it's important to acknowledge this is because this has gone under the radar for so long. It's been really important to say that Black men are self-hating, and it's been really common to do that and just to point out all the different ways that Black men coon. It's really comfortable to do that. It's incredibly uncomfortable to look at the different ways that Black women themselves engage in self-hatred. Here is a prime example. A white man showing interest in a woman of his own community. Not a big deal. This is nothing new, no breaking news. But Black women get offended over this. And it is because some of them are really caught up in this fantasy. I think a lot of it's from Disney. I think now you go online and it's becoming pushed through divesting and swirling. And there's all this propaganda that I think is pushing women further into delusions of grandiosity and further into delusions of this great white hope coming. And it is not encouraging them to be satisfied with their own lives and to actually be honest about what's going on in their own lives. And the fact that we see something quite natural happening between two successful people, and it's causing this uproar and it's causing this dissension, to me really speaks to a sickness in the community that's been really unpopular to address, but needs to be talked about. Guys, again, if you're here, like, share, subscribe. If you like what's going on here, show support to the show. Be sure to support your favorite content creators. You know, there's not a lot of content creators who have the guts to come up here and talk about this swirling, divesting stuff. So be sure to support me if this resonates with you, if you think this is important, if you think we need to have more content creators and more conversations addressing this issue in particular. Show your love and show your support by hitting the Cash App, Venmo, Shay Sade. I'll be sure to acknowledge super chats, and be sure to support your favorite content creators, because the best way you can actually confirm and make sure that your message is getting out there and that the positive messages are getting out there is by supporting those who are actually doing the work that you think needs to be done. Okay, so let me see. So there was a video, a short that I did maybe a month or two ago that asked this particular question and asked, are Black women willing to compete for white men? That was a question that I raised. I'm going to play this short for you guys because I think, again, it is obviously relevant to this question. And in some ways, it now proves my point further. Let me pull this up. I think it shut down for one moment. Okay. Sorry, guys, bear with me. I had this here and then all of a sudden it wanted to shut down. Okay, where did it go? Where did it go? Okay, so it's a quick, it's like I said, it's really short. Obviously, it's a short, so it's not too long. But, okay. Okay. So here we go. Share this with you right here. So here's the short that I did that got a lot of pushback. It got a lot of people upset, a lot of people calling me crazy, a lot of people calling me crazy, delusional, a lot of people saying I have daddy issues, mommy issues, I hate Black women, I hate myself, I hate my race, I hate everyone. So this short made a lot of people upset. But you're going to see now, just a couple of weeks later, how relevant this short is. Let's play. Responded first and foremost to white. Actually, let me do this again. Okay. Oops. All races of women have a preference. Responded first and foremost to white men, and then secondarily to men of their own race. Again, that's an important fact to have, because when these Black women are now coming to the conversation and being disrespected, they have to remember that these men of other races, white men by and large, know that they are wanted. They know intrinsically, many of them, that they are highly desired. The ones who are doing well, right? They know that they're highly desired. All races of women have a preference. Responded first and foremost to white men, and then secondarily to men of their own race. Again, that's an important fact to have, because when these Black women are now coming to the conversation and being disrespected, they have to remember that these men of other races, white men by and large, know that they are wanted. They know intrinsically, many of them, that they are highly desired. The ones who are doing well, right? They know that they're highly desired. All races of. Okay, so again, when I'm referring to in that particular clip, I've mentioned this before. There's a study that happened it looked at online dating profiles that look like online dating habits, and it also conducted in-person interviews. Again, it included a sample size of about 1 million people, looked at a popular dating website. It was a peer-reviewed study conducted by a team of sociologists over a span of a couple of years. So this was a rather intensive study. And again, what it found after looking at that study, when it looked at preferences that women had across races, minority women, Latina women, Asian women, Black women, some Indian women, what it found was that these women, for whatever reason, responded primarily, first and foremost, to white men who reached out to them. And then they responded to men of their own race. So again, they responded first and foremost, most often to white men, secondarily to men of their own race. Basically meaning there was a higher preference for white men that all minority women showed, not just Black women, but all minority women, Latina, Asian, Black women, whatever, all showed. And then secondarily, it was to men of their own race. And then they looked at, how they filtered. You had some minority women who filtered race of their own men out. You had some minority women who, you know, they did all kinds of different things to show their preference. But this is what the data was found. And so that particular short I was breaking down, not my opinion, not what I just woke up one day and decided to make up, but what some of the different data was finding. Now, of course, that makes people really mad. It just doesn't really sound good. It doesn't sound good to the sisterhood narrative. And then for those, you know, in the pro-Black community who want to believe that everybody loves Black people and that all Black people love Black people, that didn't sound good to them. So I got a lot of pushback. But the numbers are what they are. What the data also found was that although these women were really interested, highly interested in these men of other races, primarily white men, it did not necessarily mean that white men were interested in them. So here's a couple of things I want to bring, just show you guys while we break this down. What's going on, Lindell Moore with the 10? Thank you so much. Great content as always. I appreciate you. Shout out to Demetrius. This is member for 18 months. Yes. Thank you so much for being a solid content creator. Thank you so much for Alton Jermaine with the $49.99. Thank you guys so much for the generous support.
Amen. That's right.
I appreciate it. So, okay. So again, I know we're kind of going over a lot of numbers here and a lot of stats, but I think that's, again, all this stuff is relevant. I wanted to give you guys context of what's been going on. Now I'm going to show you guys a little bit of information, some stats that I have to help kind of shape this conversation around, are Black women willing to compete for white men? So let's go back to what we were going over before, right? We had the Kayla Nicole, that whole situation, or Kayla Nicole and Travis Kelce, how they were a thing, right? And so Black women were really excited about that thing, and he was down for the cause or whatever. They're no longer together, and now he's spotted with Taylor Swift. Black women are in their feelings, they're really surprised, they don't know what's going on. Oh my gosh, she fetishized this, whatever. Here's some information that I want you guys to keep into consideration. And this is what I think it's really hard for Black women to grapple with when it comes to them dating out. There are men out there who have no interest in Black women when it comes to marriage. They have zero interest in ever having a Black wife and ever having mixed melodic kids or ever having Black kids who are going to be perceived as Black by the society. There are men out there, people out there who think that, but they will have fun with you. They will sleep with you. They will brag about you to their fraternity brothers. They will brag about you to their friends. Some of them have lists. They will do this. They may even have you as a side piece, or they may even claim you as a girlfriend for a couple of years. But when it comes down to who are they going to be settling down with? Who are they going to give their last name to? Who are they going to share their legacy, their assets? Black women are nowhere on that list. I'm not saying that this is for everybody. It's important to say, I'm not saying this is every situation. Obviously, I know people who are in happy, thriving interracial relationships, but I also won't pretend this doesn't exist. It does exist, and it still exists today. Just keep that in mind. Because what happens is this whole divester swirling movement, dating out movement, it's not really dealing with the dangers. It's not dealing with the reality, the consequences, the different things that women need to navigate. It's just pretending like Black women can just hop over to the white community and choose the top ranking men with no issue, as if white women don't exist, as if preferences don't exist, as if white men don't generally have preferences for their own women. So it's the movement, it's completely deluded and delusional. And this is why I think you can have women who these situations happen between, you know, white men liking a white woman, not a big deal, but they're all up in arms because in their brain, it's like this almost weird sense of affirmative action, as if white men, high value white men, deserve or owe Black women a chance. As if just because a Black man decides to sleep with a Black woman or date a Black woman for 2 seconds, he now owes Black woman his loyalty. And I'm like, I don't know where this delusional thinking is coming from, but it's not real. Understand how these dynamics work. Men rank women. Men, especially men men who are not, you know, they're not thinking God-fearing, they're not trying to be honorable, whatever. Men who are just like, they just want to have fun. They are ranking women. They're saying, you're wife material. You're just hit it and quit it. You're just a side piece. And so a lot of women, they'll go when they have all these fantasy situations of being Mrs. Cartwright, as some of y'all say up in the comments, being Miss Ann, got Miss Ann syndrome, thinking that they're going to be the Taylor Swift. But actually, they just end up being the side piece. And they're confused when they're treated like the side piece and not treated like the wife. It is because they don't understand the way these things operate. So here's some information I want to show to you guys that I think really helps break this down to a certain extent. Okay. Okay. So going back to this particular slideshow I had, again, here's some further information that kind of helps break down how people see dating and how people perceive dating and perceive others behind closed doors, not when they're on television or at a job or in a certain place where they're trying to be nice and they're trying to be politically correct. No, how people choose when nobody else is watching, how people choose when they're not trying to impress people, they're not trying to come off as racist, want to make sure they don't come off as racist or want to make sure they don't come off as prejudiced, how people choose when there's no filters. This is what this information is looking at. Okay, here, so it says, Figure 4.1, we illustrate how open Black, Asian, and Latina women and gay men are interacting with white men compared to those from their own racial groups. Almost every minority group responds more readily to white men than to men from their own racial group. The pattern is clearest among straight minority women. It says gay, Asian, and Latino men appear to favor whites, while Black men, on the other hand, appear to privilege other gay Black men. So again, it was looking at basically who had a high preference for white men, and they showed basically all minority women, and obviously white women had a preference for white men. And then it also showed that gay men had a preference for white men, except Black men. Black gay men were the only group of people in there who were not into white men like that. Black gay men actually showed a higher preference for other Black men. So that was interesting caveat. But again, we're seeing what I illustrated to be true. And why is this important? Why is this important? Why is it important to know that all these races of women have a preference for white men? Because now when I ask, are Black women willing to compete for white men? What we're showing is that there's actually competition. Black women can't just hop into the white community and act like they have the first pick. These white men, especially successful, high-value white men, have white women to choose from, Black women to choose from, Asian women to choose from, Latinas, minorities. High-value white men especially have all these races of women who generally show interest in them. So it's not like you just get to sit there with your bonnet and your furry flip-flops and your rich prince is going to come up just randomly to your apartment complex and then just take you and have you living in a mansion, live happy ever after. That's not happening. That's not real life. That is a Disney movie somewhere. In real life, these kinds of men who are running in these circles, the kind of men are highly desirable, the Travis Kelces of the world. Not only do they have options within women of their own community, they have all these other races of women who are showing interest in them. So when I say, ladies, are you willing to compete for white men? This is exactly what I mean. I'm not making this stuff up. This is what I mean. Here, the study points to this idea. It says powerful white male privilege in the online dating market. And basically what it's saying is, of course, there's nuance to this. You obviously have white men who still have their own issues in dating and mating market. That's what the manosphere is about, right? White incels exist. I'm not pretending that like every white man just has 15 women, just all these. That's just not reality because there's still the 80-20 rule, hypergamy. But what it is saying is that if you take a comparable Black, Asian, and white men, where they're comparable in height and looks and money or whatever, generally white men are going to have an advantage. It's not to say that a Black man or Asian man or Latino man can't say that they still can't have access to women. I mean, men know once they hit a certain threshold of finances or wealth, it's easier to have beautiful women. But what it's just saying is when it talks to privilege, when it looks to who these women are primarily looking at and why, they are saying that it is primarily white guys. That, again, that's what we're saying. So again, when I go back to, are Black women willing to compete for white men? This is what I mean. This is exactly what I mean. I didn't make this stuff up, people. I didn't just wake up one day and decide to just make up fairy tales. This is real life. But these ideas that are floating around are fairy tales, and that's the problem. Shout out to you with the $4.99. It says Black women need to stop chasing after white men and stick to the men they already got home that they routinely mistreat 400 years on y'all the same. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Shout out to you again with the $1.99. It says she even slid in his DMs and they are 50 Wait, she slid in his DMs? I heard something about being 50-50, but I didn't know she initiated the is that true? She initiated the relationship. Again, wouldn't be surprising. Wouldn't be surprising. What we do know about Travis Kelce is that there's been different reports of him. He shoot his shot at Taylor Swift. He did that. We don't really know the whole context, but he alluded to in the past, like trying to do different things. Like he definitely had shown interest in Taylor Swift. And let it be clear, just from a monetary standpoint, although he's a multimillionaire, she's almost a billionaire. So like there is a huge difference as far as money is speaking. But neither of them are broke. They're still very much in the same class. But he was shooting his shot at Taylor Swift. Said, hope you enjoyed the Big Island. I live in Oahu, Big Island. Kauai and Maui are my favorites. Oh yeah, I was in Kauai a little bit. Oahu, I don't know that I made it there. I don't know if I made it. I have to go back and compile. I like went all around. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit of a tangent. I went all around. I made compile. I think I went to like 13 different sites. My husband drove honestly around a lot of that stuff, so I don't always know where I was. I just know I had an amazing time. Hawaii is beautiful. I hope I can go back soon. Okay. Anyways, so let's go back. So here's just some more information for you guys. Let's move on to some of the other stuff. Let's see some more charts for you guys. Let me see. Okay, so here's some more information regarding preference. It says, instead of being disregarded by minority daters, we find that whiteness provides men great advantage in the world of online dating. Yada, yada, yada. I kind of already said this before. It said minorities sensing that they are perceived as forever foreigners may adopt a coping strategy that involves enlisting whiteness, that is seeking a relationship with a white person as a way to be included in mainstream society or signal belonging. And so again, this kind of goes back to different theories as to why is it that minority women are showing so much interest into white men. This also is included among immigrants who come from various countries, various nations. And one of the theories is that these people believe that if they're able to secure a white partner, it might be easier for them to assimilate into American culture. And so there's different theories as to why. There is also this perception that the study alludes to, this perception that minority women have of white men having more money, more resources, a better social standing, and that overall might give them just an easier, better life. That is definitely an idea and a theory that's been floating around there. Now, again, I know this is not comfortable to acknowledge, but obviously, I mean, history speaks to this. Even if you think of Sally Hemings, I was just reading up on her the other day, and how relationship she had with Thomas Jefferson, it was forced, right? It was not necessarily anything that she wanted, right? She was considered a slave. But if you continue to read into her life, it talks about how she used her relationship with Thomas Jefferson to try to help navigate and try to help do things where hopefully her kids were going to have better opportunities moving forward, and hopefully her kids weren't going to be involved in slavery. And so there's a history literally of Black women, whether they wanted to be engaged in it or not, there's a history of Black women trying to use proximity to whiteness to give their offspring or themselves better access into American society. So because there's that history, it's not unsafe to assume this is still happening today. But for some reason, when we see these things continuing, people like to gaslight and act like folks is making up stuff. But then all we need is just a little bit of social media evidence, or just a little bit of anecdotal evidence, followed by some sociological data and studies, peer-reviewed studies, to remind us that these ideas still exist today. Shout out to you, Better You. It says these ladies, not who they think they are. They think white guys are pushovers. They are not. And I don't know how many times they got to learn. It's pathetic. Yes, there is this idea that you can just go around and like white dudes are just some weird simps. Like they're just like these beta simps that just are just, I don't know, controlled by the Black beauty, ebony goddessness that Black women supposedly bring, which I'm just like, I don't know where this idea is coming from. First of all, let's just keep it a buck. The majority of Black women are just overweight and obese. And that body type is not appealing to a lot of white men. Black men generally are the most liberal when it comes to body standards, and the most liberal when it comes to weight and curviness. Black men are usually the most liberal and the most likely to marry a BBW. y'all look at these Instagram models, these plus size curvy Instagram models, go and see how many black men you see thirsting in those comments, whether you agree or disagree. Go and count how many black men are thirsting over BBW Instagram models and probably setting up cash apps and all kind of different stuff. So black men are generally more appealing to the curvaceous body type. And black women always talk about this. Oh, well, he likes my booty. He likes my thighs. It's not a big deal, whatever. They complain against the white man's beauty standards, right? The white man's BMI. But the reality is white men are not, generally speaking, and I broke this down in another video when I looked at body types compared to black men body types versus white men body types. That was a study that looked at, I think, South Africa, looked at America, it looked at the Caribbean, it looked at a couple of different countries. And it compared how men perceive body types. Broke that down in a video I did about a year ago. What we found is that black men basically are more open to curvy bodies and white men are not. So, like I said, just off of the body type alone that a lot of American black women have, they don't really qualify to just be pulling these white men and controlling them just based upon their ebony beauty goddessness. Because black women, like I said, white men by and large are generally not attracted to BBWs like that. And I don't know how else to put it. Like, at least not based upon some of the research that I found, and then based upon what some of y'all said. And then if you look, just hop over to the white manosphere and see the names that these men have for women who are plus size. It's not positive. It is not positive at all. So even if you don't believe me, just go check out some dude in the white manosphere and see what they have to say with big, beautiful women. And I'm going to tell you, it's not going to include the word beautiful. Okay. Shout out to you, Bobby. It says, why is it objectification if a man focuses on a woman's looks up front, but when a black woman gets curved for a white woman, the first thing they do is compare looks? Insecurities. Wait, I'm trying to understand the question. Okay, why is it objectification if a man focuses on a woman's looks up front, but when a black woman gets curved for a white woman, the first thing they do is compare looks? Okay, I'm trying to understand your question. Can you help? Do you mind trying to explain that a little bit more? I'm not totally following your question. But okay, as you're doing that, I'm going to go back into this other data. So again, so basically what it's saying, whiteness is basically a level up, right? Or whiteness is a plus in dating. It broke down why, again, some minorities believing and some immigrants especially believing, as I alluded to in the study, that white men are going to have more money, more status, and that it may make it easier for them to assimilate into American culture. Now here's some more excerpts. It says, meanwhile, the white men we interviewed who all seemed like friendly, let me see this. Actually, let me turn this down. Friendly, bona fide, nice guys expressed frustration with being ignored or ghosted by a woman they message. So again, I want to lay some foundation here, or just to, like, some context. In dating, online dating, especially for successful men, what they're saying is that white men have an advantage. Now, does that mean that just because you're a white guy, that means all these women are fawning over you? Obviously, no. Right? There's still, it says, alluded to there's white guys who are frustrated because they got ghosted. You obviously have the manosphere, right? Which was started by white men who were frustrated with their women and frustrated with just life in general, the economy, different dating issues. So I'm not saying, and what the study isn't saying is that just because you're white means that there's all these different women who are coming after you. That's just not true. But what it is saying is that, again, if you take a comparable person, someone who is, a white, Asian, and Black, a Latino guy of the comparable looks, comparable money, comparable height, or whatever, the white guy's going to have an advantage in dating. And it's not necessarily because these women love white guys as much as they love the idea of what they believe whiteness can get them, right? Social status, money, access to better things, a better life. Again, that is what it's suggesting. So I just wanted to add that caveat. Then it talks about, again, some dating standards, basically how younger women have an advantage. And then, non-white men having a disadvantage. Black men and Asian men, and particularly having disadvantage as far as just negative perceptions, things like that. So again, those are a few different excerpts that I provided. I have also previous videos where I kind of showed some different shorts. So I've had a lot of information for you guys regarding this, but really what it comes down to, what I wanted to reiterate is what's not going to happen is Black women are just going to be able to just pop into another community and just get the richest, bestest person without bringing anything to the table. Like, these dudes, the kind of dudes that these ladies want, the Travis Kelce's of the world, one who are successful, who are handsome, who have the different appeal, who have the different popularity. These guys have the pick of the litter, not only their own women of their own community, but now women of other communities who are vying for them because of their social status and because of the value that they bring. So that's what I'm saying. When I ask, are Black women willing to compete for white men? This is what I'm saying. If you're serious about swirling and divesting, and if you're serious about escaping Blackistan and getting your own rich white prince, do you know what that actually entails? And let's just be honest, if you're trying to just date a white guy just because you don't want to deal with Black men or because you got your own issues that you ain't dealt with, that is not going to be a good setup, because you're probably going to, at that point, attract something toxic, and it's not going to be based upon anything real. It's based upon, you fetishizing the white man at that point. You don't really love the white guy because you think he's a good person. You like his whiteness, but you don't like him. So that's going to be its own issue. And then if y'all are vibing off of this whole hatred thing of Black men or Black people, that opens a whole other just door of weirdness. So it's just not a good look. If the reason you are exclusively trying to date out is because you don't like yourself and you don't like your men, bad look. But just from a strictly practical level, it's important to understand, again, lovely ladies, that it's super competitive out there. Straight up, like, it is super competitive out there. High value men in general, Kevin Samuel said this, high value men have options. This is true across the board for all races of men, but especially white men, they definitely have options. So it's like, if for whatever reason, that's the kind of men that you want, you're likely going to have to compete. I think someone there alluded to the fact that, what's her name? Kelly Nicole slid into Travis Kelce's DMs. I was not aware of that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Now, Travis Kelce, from what you understand, initiated some form of relationship with Taylor Swift, but she's almost a billionaire, right? He's a multimillionaire, but I'm like, Taylor Swift is like, she's like there. So he's shooting his shot, and he's, for lack of a better term, being hypergamous. I went over the stats earlier about the different ways that Taylor Swift has already leveled up his life. A 400% spike in Travis Kelce's jersey sales. Kelce's podcast and now ranks number 1. Kelce adds 383K Instagram followers. So really, from a certain point, Travis Kelce he's shooting his shot. He's trying to go up. He's trying to level up. But that's what I'm saying. Men, high value white men can likely do that. And for some reason, when we talk about these relationship dynamics, swirling, divesting, it enters the realm of delusion. It doesn't stay in the realm of reality. It doesn't. It just goes over there into like the Disney world. And I'm like, let's get back off of Disney. Let's get off of the TikTok delusions and all of the fake fabricated couples that create accounts to try to act like they're family, and they're not. They're paid actors. And let's actually deal with reality. First of all, I personally don't think you should be just filtering strictly off of race. Like, I think that's crazy. But I'm like, if you want to have any kind of healthy relationship, first be a healthy person, right? Like, that's foundational. And if the thing that's driving you to try to date and marry out is because you don't like the men of your own community and you can't get along in the men of your own community, how do you think you're not going to be able to pull a high value man in a community you don't know about, in a community that's not yours? So Black women who are serious about dating and divesting and swirling, first of all, it's like, we probably should be promoting gym memberships. Just keep it a buck. Because if you want the high value white men are not necessarily interested in BBWs, and the majority of Black women are BBWs by the white men standards. So if you're serious about divesting and swirling, you probably need to be in the gym first and foremost. Charm school, some of us might need, because let's just keep it a buck. This current culture that's going on, this current popular culture of Black women that's going on is diabolical, and it is not charming, and it is highly disrespectful. I saw this one song. What's her name? I don't even know the girl's name. See if I can find it. It's about, maybe y'all can tell me the song. It's just one. It was like one song I saw trending on Twitter. It's this Black girl talking about she has a white guy, and he feeds her pasta and lobster. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I think, is it like Khalees or Candy? What's her name? I don't even know. But she's some like young, popular Black girl that has a lot of followers. She's like a rapper or something. And her whole thing is about, she was talking about swirling and how like she was just pulling these white dudes and they're feeding her pasta and lobster and she's just living her best life, doing all kind of ratchet stuff on the video. And I'm like, this is delusional. So this dude's treating you like a princess, sending you money to your Cash App, Venmo, and you're over here twerking everywhere. You ain't got no standards. You're acting like a hoe. You're sleeping with different dudes, but these white guys are just putting you up in a mansion? Like delusional stuff. So on top of a gym membership in charm school, probably get off of TikTok, probably get off of social media, and really seek a strong relationship with the Most High. Really, I'm like, to me, that's foundational. Because first of all, a lot of the stuff is just delusional. A lot of the stuff is just, it's caused by self-hating. It's caused by an inability to be honest with oneself and be introspective. And it's like, before you really can do anything, you need to get right with the Most High and with the Lord. Because white men aren't coming to save you, okay? White men are not coming to be your savior. The only person that's saving you is Jesus Christ. He already did the sacrifice over thousands of years ago. So if you have not accepted that sacrifice and not willing to surrender your life to the Most High and go through the purification process, if you ain't willing to accept God's sacrifice, then ain't no man out here is going to do it. So it's like, start there. It's like, you have to get the spirit and the minds right, because a lot of this stuff, it's delusion on top of delusion, on top of coping mechanisms, on top of low self-esteem, because we haven't gotten honest with ourselves with what's going on. And these divestiture swirling movements, I think they just kind of feed in this whole fantasy delusion that ladies are wanting to live right now because their lives are really hard. And I'm here and being like, let's shake the table. Like, no, this isn't helping. This is not helping. White men are not coming to save you, okay? These rich white men are not coming to save you. If you actually want this kind of lifestyle, it comes at a cost. Competition, like I said, gym membership, charm school. For those of y'all who don't do it, you need to probably get yourself in certain circles. You probably need to actually compete. What's her name was sending him DMs. Like, there's things that you have to do to position yourself to get that white guy, truthfully. And that's assuming that this dude doesn't have a fetish. That's assuming that this dude might even be open to dating a Black woman. There's many white dudes out there who they're not even open to dating a Black woman. Don't believe me? Look at the marriage stats. Currently, 1%, I think, of white men right now in the United States of America have a Black wife. White men are the least likely to marry Black women. They may sleep with you and they might even create a baby and then go ghost, right? But as far as marriage, so it's like I said, going that route, it is possible. But if you're trying to do it, especially with these high value rich men, there's a lot of different things that you have to be honest about. And it's not always peaches and cream. You might experience racism. You might experience some racist in-laws. But then on the other hand, if you're doing that just because you hate yourself, because you hate your community, and you want somebody to save you, like I said, these white men ain't doing it. God's the only one that can save you. All right? But the hopium and the copium isn't going to do anything but just make you mad and depressed and bitter. And to me, just being a bitter woman who goes online and finds other bitter women to complain about and get online and bash men all day, that's a very sad way to live. Like, I think there's a better, more fulfilling way to live, but it actually requires honesty and it requires self-introspection, and it really requires the power of God to get out of your own brokenness. And these kinds of scenarios, to me, they bring up so much, because it's not really about Taylor Swift and Kelce. They're grown adults living their own lives, living their best life. But to me, it's really about the different brokenness and the different trends that it continues to expose in these different communities, especially in the Black community, and how I think it's important to address these things, whether or not they're important, whether or not they're popular, whether or not it seems fun or not. It's like, the truth is what it is. So again, I want to let me show this again real quick, and then I'm going to move on, because for those of you guys who are kind of on here now, I played this section. I'm going to at the beginning of the live, I want to play it again, of a friend that I interviewed, a white woman, talking about how white men choose their partners, how value white men choose their partners. And I think this is important to understand, coming from a white woman, about the community that she was raised in and born in and is still integrated in. And she's being honest about how white men choose. And as I said before, when Black women are thinking about this idea of dating out, swirling, divesting, expanding your options, whatever, they have to be honest about what that might mean. And again, I'm referring to those who actually want to date men of value. If you out here just trying to get any old dusty dude, then okay, that's a whole other thing. Right? If you're just like, I'm just going to, as long as he's white, I don't care if he's an inmate, I don't care if he's homeless, I don't care if he don't have a job, just as long as he's white. There are those out there who exist, right? But if you're one of those who has the delusion of a great white hope and a rich white millionaire or prince or near prince coming and saving you from Blackistan, then you probably should be aware of what that actually would entail. So let me go play that again. You guys like, share, subscribe. Be sure to show some support to your favorite content creators. Oh wait, you know what? I think Bobby, you sent me. Did you send me? Let me make sure I got it. It says, okay, I'm asking you: is it hypocrisy or insecurities in your opinion when women do what I said on my other child? Okay, so you're saying is it hypocrisy? Oh, okay. So, like, is it basically hypocrisy when Black women compare themselves to white women? I think, or insecurities. I think that's what you're saying. I would argue that it's a little bit of both. I always hear, personally, I hear a lot of frustration about Black women feeling that white men are choosing or stealing their beauty standards, or stealing their trends, or trying to be like them, BBLs, lips, tanning, whatever. I hear about that complaints a lot. Now I always come back with, okay, well, how about blonde weaves? How about, nose jobs? How about skin bleaching? Like some of the different things that Black women also do try to make themselves look white. So I think it can really become tit for tat. Obviously we do live in America that has, a history of colorism. So I'm not gonna pretend like that doesn't exist. It obviously does. It impacts men and it impacts women, right? But I think a lot of anytime that I hear a woman who are so upset about what another white woman does that they don't know, that they have no relation to me, I usually think it is driven by jealousy, in my opinion, because I do think there's women out there who are just upset. They're upset that they don't have what they perceive as white women having when it comes to money, when it comes to resources, when it comes to the comfortable life. They're upset at that. And I've talked to some different women who have actually expressed that openly or alluded to it in some previous lives. I've also shown videos of it, right? A woman just being like, you guys Black men didn't build this, Black men didn't build that, Black men didn't protect us, Black men. All those ideas of Black men didn't do that is, to me, based upon this idea of envying the position that white women have in American society. And Black women today who are particularly frustrated with their life, particularly frustrated with where they rank, their money situation, maybe their job, their career, themselves. They don't like themselves. They feel like they've been mistreated, whatever it may be. It's easy to look at somebody else to compare and say they have an easier life. Very easy. Very easy. And so I do think in that sense that yes, all of the bickering or all of the pointing the fingers and white women aren't this and white women aren't that, I think in some cases is definitely driven by a sense of self-hatred and a sense of jealousy. My thoughts. Also, real quick, there's a lot of white women out there who do struggle. And again, and this is not, I'm not acting like there hasn't been a system of white supremacy. I'm not saying that, right? That obviously has existed, right? And there's obviously still components of that today that are still going on. But just because someone is white or a white man or a white woman does not mean that they also don't struggle. And I think this is now when you start getting into conversations about class, and about all that, it's really a lot more nuanced, because I know a lot of poor white people who are just like, what? Like dealing with alcoholism and drug addiction and, different SA and DV and all the things that you may think are only exist in the Black community. It's like, no, that exists in other communities, because anytime you're dealing with poverty, or you're dealing with just anything, a broken spirit, right? Some people are just sick and they need God, literally, and they don't know they are self-destructing. They harm any and everything around them. It doesn't matter what the race are, they're just sick. And so that impacts people. So it's like people have it's easy for us to go online and just stick everybody in categories. But in reality, these situations are a lot more nuanced. So again, just because a woman is white doesn't mean that she has a rich, happy life. I know a woman right now, 4 kids, living at home with their parents. They can't afford a home. Husband's working, but I also know scenarios of white women where the husband isn't working and she's paying all the bills. So it's like these situations are nuanced, but we understand by and large. Yes, are you going to be more likely to see rich white women? Yes. Are you going to be more likely to see rich white families? Yes. 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 But that doesn't mean that that's everyone's such a scenario. So again, hope that makes sense. Anyways, I'm gonna play this part again. So you guys, for those of you guys who are new, and we'll go from there.
In my experience, especially with, and I'm just going to use the term high value, like productive, emotionally aware, even non-emotionally aware white men typically don't settle. So they're not like let's just, you could not even like how do I want to say this? Like, as a white man, you don't even really need to be offering too much, but usually they pick winners. And I'm saying they very generally, very generally, right? So like in my experience, like if I were to even think about, in my own family, like most of those people married equal or above.
The men? The white men?
Yeah, the men. The men. Yeah, everyone in my family has either married equal or above or far above. So, like, and far above meaning like a lot of different things, right? But they're definitely, they understand and they see value and they know how to recognize that. And I think if you were to just bust it even more open, like more like men in general are looking for someone or a person to add value to their life, period. And I think that goes outside of race, right? That goes outside of just a white, just a white man or a white man preference. Like, so if you're at the gym and you're not offering anything of value, you're not going to get stares. You're not going to get looks. Like that's just the truth, and there, I feel like there's also like an air about you, especially at the gym of confidence, or anywhere that you are at, of confidence. And I think men are pretty good bull, like shit readers, and can tell whether you're being fake or not. And if you're really fake, a lot of guys don't really want to deal with that. And again, I'm not saying anything about this particular woman. I'm just saying, like, at the, finding someone on a hike, like, you're not going to pick up somebody on a hike. Usually people are hiking with their friends and or hiking because they don't want to be around people. So like, you're not going to find someone on a hike. I mean, maybe.
You're just saying
everywhere. Yeah. Like this guy, where do you find them? Everywhere. They're everywhere. Just look around.
Yeah.
Totally.
So like doing a video, I mean, my first thought looking at that video was just like, you're telling on yourself if you have a hard time finding a population that's like, I don't want to say the most likely to be here, but like white people are a majority in the US. So if you're having a hard time finding like the majority of people who exist here, then you're already telling on yourself. Like, we know where you're living or where you're coming from.
And it's, where are you hanging out?
Right.
And so like all of that matters too. And so it's like, there are certain places, and being in the Bay Area for like 10 years, there's places that I knew I could go to where I would be around a majority of white people. Mm-hmm. There would be places that I could go to where I knew I was going to be the only white person there. Yeah. Like, if you're paying attention, you can find the places where those people hang out. And then the question is like, how do you assimilate to those environments enough to be appealing?
Right. But you hit the nail on the head. It's like, at the end of the day, you have to be offering something. Just meeting a white guy doesn't mean that you're going to be getting a marriage proposal. It's like, okay,
no.
What are you offering?
How are you adding value to said white guy's life? especially if he's already well established, doesn't really need much. Like, one of the things that, you know, if I'm just thinking about my relationship with the white guy that I had like 10 years ago, he didn't really need me. Like, I was there because he liked my company. He likely liked how I looked. He liked that I came from a good family and that my, and all these things, but he didn't really need my help or like need me. And if you're thinking about like being in a marriage with someone, and I say this all the time, is like, your job, as like, if we're taking the biblical approach to it, is to be your helpmate to your husband. So how are you helping your partner, the person you're dating, the person you're married to? Like, how are you helping them? And what do you have to offer? It comes back to like, what do you have to offer? And does that person like what you have to offer? So
basic stuff. Yeah.
Basics. Yeah, basics.
So again, there you have it. If you don't believe me, believe somebody who's a part of the community, been in the community, knows the community very well. So back to my original question. Are Black women willing to compete for white men? I know this idea is incredibly uncomfortable when it comes to having to compete at all for love, because it's like, the idea is women are the prize and they should just be able to sit and be pretty, and then just, the perfect man's going to come to them. That's kind of like the general narrative. But as I alluded to before, if you were going after a particular type, particular lifestyle, reality is you're probably going to have to compete. But here's the other part too. The cold truth is most people aren't going to have that lifestyle. Most people aren't going to have that billionaire, multimillionaire lifestyle. That's just not what they're meant for. But I think it's also important to understand that that's not necessarily what you need to be happy. One of the reasons I'm so concerned with some of these conversations and these movements is because I think it's leading women towards not only a road of destruction, because it's just not real, but secondly, it's leading them towards a place of delusion and unhappiness. Even if you are able to land that rich guy, if it's not based upon anything real, if it's not based upon true love and connection, you're not going to be happy. This is why you have all those housewives and all these series who get divorced every day, all the time, because they weren't happy, because it was never about that. It was never about, oh, he just has the status or he just has this and that. If you're not happy internally, if you're not a peaceful person internally, if you don't have that strong spiritual foundation, and if you don't know how to get along with yourself, you're not going to know how to get along with another person. You're not even going to be able to enjoy that success or money. So a lot of these things are promising. They're promising a lifestyle and they're promising a level of happiness that will never come. First of all, it's highly unlikely that you'll get it. And even in the rare chance that you do get it, how many of those are actually happy? Because again, if it's not based upon anything real, if it's not substantial, if it's not a good, solid, healthy marriage, then it's just going to fall apart. So that's why I talk about these things, I address them so regularly and so vehemently, because again, there's a lot of gaslighting, people not wanting to admit what we all know to be true. And secondly, I think it's destructive. It's destructive. So again, high value white men, they have options. Kevin Samuel said this. High value men, period, have options, especially high value white men. They have their own women in their own community to choose from. And then they have women from all these other races who are competing for their attention. So there's that. Then there's also the caveat of white men out there not necessarily liking Black women. There are many white men out there who they might sleep with a Black woman. They might even create a kid with a Black woman and then leave and not want to be involved in the kid's life. But they would never bring her home to their mom or their dad or their family reunion. They would never think to share their legacy or their wealth or share their last name. They wouldn't. There are white men out there who think like that. So as I said before, just because a man will sleep with you, might even claim you as a side piece, might even pay a couple of bills depending upon his financial situation, does not always necessarily mean that he is intending to see you as a wife. And you generally know early on if this man sees you as a wife or not. Men who are serious about you being wife material make it very clear very early on. You don't have to question. You don't have to wonder, well, does he like me? Does he not like me? Why are we waiting? You don't know. Because when a man sees value, they grab it. And that's what my friend just alluded to in the video. She was like, yeah, these they pick winners. They're shooting their shot. Look at Travis Kelce. He's shooting his shot at Taylor Swift. Now, whether or not they're dating or not, and he's trying to woo her, who knows? But he was shooting his shot at her. But some of y'all in the comments said Kayla Nicole was shooting her shot at him. Who knows? But as I mentioned, like the competition is there. The competition is there. So let's be honest about that. And also, I think ultimately it's important to understand, as I mentioned, a lot of this stuff is just delusion. It's just delusion. It's just Disney fantasies. And it's really intended to keep women unhealed because people make money off of it, maybe because there's views, who knows. But happiness is not going to come from a rich millionaire. It's not going to come from a white guy. It's not going to come from a rich celebrity coming on at your door. It's not. Like I said, if you're not happy with yourself, if you don't have that firm spiritual foundation with the Most High, which I highly recommend, that's foundational to everything. I always tell women, get your relationship with God right. Get your relationship with Christ right. Work on that internal chaos, because God's the only one that could handle your chaos. These men are running from your chaos. These men are grabbing Black men who are the most likely to date you, the most likely to marry you, are grabbing their passports because of the chaos. So God's the only one that can handle your chaos. So give that chaos to him. Okay. Allow him to cleanse you and transform you, and then you'll be able to attract what is good. But don't think that all this copium and hopium and the Great White Hope and all this Netflix movies and all these swirler songs and anthems and the twerking, all that stuff is meant to distract you from the brokenness within, truthfully. And that's why I say God's the only one who can help you, but he can. God is good. He does help people. He does redeem women. He does. I've seen it. I've experienced it myself. God is so good. But if you don't deal with that self, if you don't deal with that peacelessness, the fact that you don't have peace with yourself, that you have your own self-hatred, you have your own brokenness, if you don't deal with that, you try to bring that other places, you're going to scare Black men away. White men ain't coming near you. Well, maybe just a booty call, but that's it. And then you end up being online, in your 60s saying all men are trash, life is horrible. And then, it's everyone else's problem. Truly. And this is kind of what we're seeing. This is exactly what we're seeing going on. So I know it's unpopular to say. I know it's not, people don't like it. I know it's like, oh, you're not supposed to say this. You're not supposed to say that Black women can be self-hating. You're not supposed to say that Black women sin, or that Black women also have their issues and their challenges and their problems. I'm not supposed to say this. I'm supposed to just pretend that Black women are just killing it in every metric. They got the most businesses, the most homes, the most money, the most marriages, the most babies. Supposed to just pretend that Black women are just doing okay, while many of us are struggling. But I'm supposed to just sit here and act like I'm just supposed to just close my eyes and just lie to y'all. I mean, as I said before, if I really wanted to make some money, y'all, do you know how much money is in lying to women? Do you know how much money is out there in lying to money? If I really just wanted it to be about money, I could probably be 5 times the following with a lot more money just lying to these ladies. Trust me. Because all you got to do is put on a front. Okay, learn the right makeup tricks, do some hypergamy stuff. I'm going this trip with my husband. We're in Zanzibar. We're in Mexico. Like, I don't post all my trips, right? But if I really wanted to appeal to the senses and just lie and say, oh, well, it's not this Black man. It's actually this white dude over here. But come to find out that white dude is just a neighbor. But you know what I mean? Like, if I wanted to lie, I could, because that would be a lot more profitable. But it's not always about that, So anyways, it says there's millions in lying to money. Yes. And truthfully, there's some women that's all they want. They just want to be lied to. And if you just want to be lied to, and if you are happy with your hopium and your copium, I'm not here to convince you otherwise. Clearly, you've chosen your side. But for those who just are not aware, or whatever it may be, I'm here for those who want to listen. Anyways, what's going on, Bella? It's so good to see you guys. Check out her channel. I love what she's doing over there. Beautiful woman. I think you just had your baby, right? Bubble bursted. Yes, beautiful channel, beautiful one over there. I gotta go binge watch it. Sometimes I get so caught up in doing my own content or just live. I'm like, I get behind in other people's content, so I gotta do that. Anyways, guys, this has been good. Let's see where we're at. So, I have a few more minutes. If anyone wants to come call in, if I could get at least five more Cash Apps, Venmos, or Super Chats, I will open up the call lines. If you guys are interested, let me know. Like I said, at least five more Cash Apps, Venmos, Super Chats. If so, I'll open up the call line and we'll have some discussions. Y'all let me know whether or not that is what you want to do. In the meantime, we will go on a quick break. No, I said, colleague, I said, if folks want to call in, I need at least five more Cash Apps, Super Chats, Venmos. That's the agreement. So I'll go on one more little quick break. And if I don't get the support, that's cool. We can wrap it up. We've had plenty enough information go on in this live. If you guys are on here later on, no worries. You can go back and catch the replay. I broke down a couple of different sources, also provided some anecdotal evidence, also provided some interviews. So good stuff. Again, guys, if you guys are interested, just 5 Cash Apps, Super Chats, or Venmos if you want to do a call in. And if not, all good. We can wrap it up and I can go finish cleaning. Where did I go? Okay. Okay, so we can wrap this up. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so as I mentioned, I kind of went over a couple of things. If you miss it, no worries, you can go back and catch the replay. Really, as a recap, you know, dating and mating, it is, however you look at it, it is a competitive market. And then now it's gotten a little more complicated, you know, with the gender divide, the gender war, and all that kind of just stuff going on, whether or not you believe it's real or it's just fabricated stuff online. Nevertheless, there is some tension going on. So I totally believe that it's still possible to find a happy, healthy relationship today. I, believe that. I'm happy to have it myself. So I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to pretend like things don't happen. I'm just for being honest about what is going on. For the lovely ladies who want to, aspire to having rich, high value men. I mean, I really want to ask why, because it might be for wrong reasons. But just from a strictly practical standpoint, if you really want to have those rich, high value men, as Kevin Samuel said this before, my friend said this, I alluded to it with some of the different stats. High value men, especially white men, have options. not only with women within their own community, but they also have other races of women who are generally interested in them. And so that makes things highly competitive. So when I ask, are Black women willing to compete for white men? That is what I mean. You're not going to be able to just waltz into another community and just have the best of the best men without thinking that there's going to be other women that you're competing for. If y'all look now at what is it, Prince Charles and I think Kate, I'd be missing their names, but I think it's Prince Charles and Kate, is it Hudson? Is that her name? Y'all let me know in the comment section. I'm bad with names sometimes. But the current, okay, his current wife. I'm so bad with names. I was reading some recently and they talked about how she competed for him. She didn't just like wake up and he was like sending her flowers and writing her messages. No. When ladies figured out the college that he was going to, they said the admissions of that college went up and there are different women who were competing for him. She literally changed her classes. She literally she changed the classes. She turned down different job opportunities. I mean, she's now like about to be a queen eventually, but she fought for that position that she currently has. She fought for that. This is a British royal. So again, if a Prince Will, I'll be getting them all mixed up. I'm so bad. So the British royal woman, right? She fought for her man. Again, she figured out what college he was going to, went to that college. They said other women did the same thing. They said women figured out where he was going. They went to the same college he was going to. Women started making themselves available, taking the classes. She turned down job opportunities. Like there's literally an entire article on this. How she put herself in position and she literally fought and competed to get the position that she has now. I mean, now she's royalty, but it didn't just happen. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, especially when you want to get into those kinds of positions, there's usually competition, especially if you're trying to date hypergamously. Now, there are situations, if you look at Taylor Swift, right? He's shooting her shot at her, but she's almost a billionaire and he's nowhere near that. So it's like he's, to a certain extent, doing his hypergamy thing. And even the numbers show it. She showed up at one of his games and his sales shot up. His business shot up. His different podcasts, everything he did shot up just because she showed up. So it's like she is clearly adding value to his life just by conversations. So that's what I'm saying, ladies. It's like, it's so much more nuanced than, oh, he's just going to come in and it's all going to be great. It's so much more nuanced than that. There's actual things that have to happen, like if you want that lifestyle, right? And then not to mention the dynamics, intercultural dynamics of like, okay, just because he may like you or may actually be interested in you doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't have people in his family or people in his community that don't see you positively, who might have racism, who might have their own biases. Like that's very much a real thing. So you have to think, oh, sorry guys, I'm seeing some stuff come through. Sorry guys, I'm just now seeing some stuff come through. Shout out to you. And it's because I always say that name wrong. With the Cash App, I thank you so much. It says, thank you so much for the hand clap. Also, thank you so much, Anthony, with the 25. It says, what does it say? Keep up the great work. The money will be okay. That's Cash App, but yeah, keep the great work. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So again, so like I said, there's that component of the competition, just the fierce competition. If a British royal would be actually willing to compete for her man, how much more is just an average everyday woman who wants the high value man going to likely have to be in a situation to compete? So that's just the reality. And like I said, now when you're talking intercultural dynamics, you got to deal with that stuff. He may not be racist and his family may not be racist, but he also could be racist. That's the real thing today. I showed you different stats just earlier in this live that looked at how people still perceive race when it comes to dating and mating, and how white men are highly desired from races of all women. So like I said, that's a whole other component you're going to have to take into consideration. And then there's also the component of white men out there or high value men out there who will sleep with a woman. Some actually fetishize sleeping with Black women because it's like a thing. They want to have that experience so they can brag about with their friends, the fraternity brothers, the golf buddies, whatever. And they'll sleep with you and keep you as a side piece, but they have zero intention of keeping you as a wife. So like I said, there's all these different dynamics that really should be addressed if a person is truly serious about doing this stuff. And the fact that these things are being talked about to me shows that a lot of it is just bunk. Not to mention the whole weight component, not to mention the, the etiquette, all the different things, So I'm like, a lot of the stuff to me is it's just fantasy in my opinion. But nevertheless, I think it's important to talk about because it's really uncomfortable for some people to talk about. It's uncomfortable for some to kind of sit with the fact that, hey, there's still there are likely women out there who were equally as impacted by a history of racism or by a history of being literally a second-class citizen or not even human for a certain amount of time in the United States of America. Like, there are women who have psychological effects of that, and we can see it. It's uncomfortable for some people to see that. But even if you don't believe me, how do you explain these different dynamics? How do you explain these scenarios? How do you explain these songs, these movies, these trends on TikTok, young people? How do you explain it? How do you explain, some of the different trends we're seeing right now online? People who are sometimes openly spewing hateful language, right? Like, so these things still exist. People don't always like to talk about it. People like to gaslight. People like to pretend like race isn't a thing. That like to act like we're in a post-racist society. And all you have to do is be on social media for about 2 seconds to know that that's false. Thank you so much for the $1.99. I appreciate y'all. Let me see. Shout out to you with the 18th letter. It says, unfortunately, due to the gynocratic role reversal in our community, the name of the game to prey on Black women's illusions for financial gain. There is so much money. There is so much money in lying to Black women, as I alluded to. I think women in general, I don't want to just say it's just Black women, but I just think Black women in particular are particularly susceptible to certain lies and delusions, partially because of the different struggles that are going on right now economically, that's impacting everyone, right? Not just Black women, but impacting everyone. And then when you couple that with the self-hatred that's kind of already been brewing under the surface that people don't always want to address, it gets it can just get complicated. Anyways, let me see if I got anyone else. Wait, okay, sorry guys. I'm getting stuff on my Cash App. Sorry guys, bear with me. Let me see. Okay, well, technically, I guess I was about to shut down, but y'all came through with a little bit of support. So I do have a few minutes if anybody wants to call in. This time I'm going to do it one-on-one, and I'm going to make sure that I see you, because last time I had a live, I had a lot of neo-Nazi trolls come in and do some dastardly deeds, so I've been having to block them. So random to me, like, I don't understand why. Just random side note. I don't understand what is threatening about a femininity page talking about relationships. Like, it's really strange to me when I see, and I hate to say it, but I'm like, I literally have had white nationalists come on and saying some ratchet things. Not that every white person who's been on my platform is a white nationalist. That's not true. I've obviously talked to some, I've interviewed some of them are subscribed here, so that's not everybody. But those who are here have made themselves known very clear, and it's kind of strange to me. I'm like, what about this channel makes you feel threatened enough that you have to be her and troll? It's very strange. I don't get it. Anyways, so if any of you guys would like to call in, I think I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna keep this one pretty fast because I do need to actually I need to go finish cleaning before my husband gets home. But I wanted to give you guys a few minutes because you guys did come through. Some of you guys have come through with support. But like I said, I'll keep this one-on-one. We'll try to stick to the topic at hand. If y'all are crazy, if any of y'all look crazy behind the paywall, or not the paywall, but if y'all look crazy in the background, then I'm just gonna block you. I mean, you're just not gonna be on, because like I said, what happened last time is not happening today. So if you guys want to call on and have a few minutes, you can feel free to, and if not, we can wrap this up. He said Black female content creators plan, but yeah, that happens. There's a lot of people today who I think are preying on a lot, seriously. So I'm going back through the comments right now. Truth telling is obviously negativity. I'm looking through these comments right now. You know, I always find it so interesting too when someone talks about how what I do is bashing and negativity and immature and disrespectful. And I'm like, okay, but then they continue to stay here. I'm like, if you don't like what somebody is saying, then you just go over there or you block them, you don't engage. But I'm like, so what I'm saying is so hurtful and so bad for the Black female image, and yet you're still here commenting. This is where to me I'm like, clearly I think there's some disconnect going on here, in my opinion. Okay, I got the 18th letter. What's going on, 18th letter?
Hey, how you doing tonight, Miss Shay?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I just wanted to come up to let you know that we appreciate your content.
Oh,
We
thank you.
appreciate the deep dive and the research that you've done into addressing certain issues that's going on within our community, as far as addressing that the opposite end of the gender war that never really gets addressed. And I know that it can definitely, all of that negative energy can definitely take a toll. And it can.
Why do you think I was on vacation? I'm like, look.
I know, God, Jesus Christ. You're like, ooh, Lord, I gotta get up out of. I gotta get up out of here for it. But I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. If we've all, if anybody knows the narrative that's been going on online for the last 3 to 4 years, especially since the pandemic, we've heard various hate speech from people that look like us, neo-Nazi language and different things. And you've literally had content creators that were supposedly for BWE feeding this poison to their own subscriber base to, pretty much sell them a fantasy and have them live in a delusion just to collect super chats and cash apps. And the funny thing about it, you want to talk about capitalism, they've really mastered that, because they took a page out of capitalist book while they sold their female subscriber base this delusion. They're running out the back door with the money and leaving their people with no type of results, no type of answers to their own, misery and to their own, depression or anything like that. You got, you got women on here that's telling them to not date Black men or leave Black men alone while they're happily married, or while they are,
It's crazy to me that there's some divestors out there or some swirlers out there who are literally married to black men. Like, look, I'm married to Black men, but I know. I mean, I've obviously shown my true colors. I'm like out of the bag. Like, I love Black people. I love people. Period. I don't hate Black men. But if I wanted to traffic on that narrative and the Black men are dusties and bullet bags, and I have a marketing background. Like, if I really wanted to do the whole kind of swirler, I could have up here with a Black husband, paying the bills, taking me on vacation, all that. I could do that. And there's women who are doing that today and making money, which is, to me, is just.
I was just going to say that there's no need to mention names, but it's a certain content creator that also has a master's degree in marketing that has literally sold a lot of these women poison, and that person remains. Their identity is yet to be named, and they're literally running out the back door with profits while a lot of these women suffer. And it's just like, who are going to take, like you said, a lot of people need self-help. It's nuances to it. It's not just black and white, because who are literally going to take you serious when you are infected with so much hate, so much negativity? You're like, no one wants to be around a person like that. That person's is hell spawn, and nobody wants to be around somebody like that.
I don't think anybody wants to be a fetish either. Like, if you know that a person is just with you because, oh, they're this race or they're this, like you're not even seeing them as a person. You're just seeing them as an object that's meeting your personal selfish needs. That gets old. That gets old. You know what I mean? Right. So it's not even really real at that point either, which is why, I mean, to me, really, when you kind of break this stuff down, you just scratch the surface a little bit, you really see how foolish it is and how unwell and unrealistic it is, you know?
Absolutely, and you've covered numerous elements of the situation. As far as you have these women who are just unfortunately they're mentally disturbed. And that's coupled with low self-esteem and self-hatred that just want to, they don't care what type of caliber of person it is. They're in love with the whiteness and the illusion of what they think whiteness will bring them in their personal life.
Yeah. Absolutely. The illusions, because I say this is at the same time that I think it's nearly 80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck across the board of all races.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's like we can't pretend like there's not a lower class that impacts white people, Asian people, Hispanic, Black people. Like there's all races of people with all distinctive backgrounds who are struggling that way. And I think that's where these things, it's just like a coping mechanism because it's so distinctive for reality. But if I go outside right now, walk my street, or if I go just drive a couple of minutes and see a homeless encampment, you'll see all races of people because
absolutely,
so.
And it's just like, and the way that things are designed in the system, it's designed for, capitalists to prey on people that are weak-minded, on people that do suffer from low self-esteem issues and different things, because we know the more miserable people are, the more that they buy things and the more that they spend money that they don't have,
or scapegoat. They'll start to
scapegoat. Yeah, absolutely.
They'll start to shift blame. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But
So we saw exactly, what happened with Travis Kelce. I heard, I'm not sure if it's true or anything. I heard it was a rumor that he only gave Kelce Nicole $100 out of the time that they was together, which it's obvious that you have a certain group of women within our community that they want that white man so bad, even if he use and abuse it, they'll keep it to themselves. They won't expose that because that's how bad they want that relationship. So it's crazy. It's crazy. And the denial and the hatred yourself and other women within our community that combat this type of ignorance and rhetoric, the hatred that y'all get, it goes to show you how strong this narrative has been flowing around the internet for quite some time.
It's been good. Well, and even before the internet, now we
prior, absolutely.
Well, this has been good. I want to make sure I get. I have a couple of more people in the back that I wanted to engage with, and then I have to keep this section a little short because I do need to go finish cleaning, literally.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Miss Shay.
Yeah,
really.
Thanks for calling in.
Oh, no problem at all. We love your content. We definitely will be here to support more of it. We know it can take a toll sometimes, but we're here to support as much as we can. So shout out to you, Miss Shay, and thank you for allowing me back on your platform.
Thank you so much. You take care. Okay, looks like I have Kevin C. What's going on?
Oh, hey, Shay, how you doing?
Good. I'm good. So I'm going to try to keep these ones a little more short because I have to get off in a few minutes. But I wanted to see, I mean, in your opinion, are Black women willing to compete for white men?
Not from what I've seen, no. Not in the way they should in order to actually get them.
Right. Okay. And what do you think about, I don't know how long you've been alive, but what do you think of some of the different information that was presented?
So one of the things I like about what you do is that you actually pull out references and and statistics, and then you actually talk about what the research that other people have done, not just some stuff that you feel or what you think emotionally or what you ideally want to see. It's because you need a second and third opinion on stuff like this, right? So I like how you do that. That's one of the reasons I actually like what it is you do, because you're just not talking from emotion and, oh, well, this is what I think it is, and this is what I see. People do that anecdotal thing, but the fact that you actually talk to that and speak to those that data, that actually lends credibility to what it is you're saying. So good on you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean a lot, because I get a lot of pushback. I get a lot of people who pretend like I just make this stuff up, or I just wake up one day and just decide and just say, oh, all women are this and all men are that. Like I just have the time to be doing that.
if I had a criticism of the Black collective, is that we don't look at statistics enough. And then one of the things that I notice people do is they look at the statistics that favor the narrative that they like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I look at it all, even the bad ones. I'm like, okay, because if you don't know what the bad stuff is, then how can you improve, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it. They want these guys. I understand it. I don't have any issue with it. As a matter of fact, there are interracial couples that I follow on YouTube, TikTok, social media. I don't message them or anything. I just kind of just look at what it is they do, and what I want to see is stuff that happens organically. But if you're trying to force a round peg into a square hole just because you're mad at Black men, then I'm like, well, you're going to get what you get, and you're not going to really put the effort in, and it's not going to happen organically, and then that guy's probably going to see it, or maybe he's just doesn't really understand what's going on. But you're not getting back at. That's the other thing too. You're not getting back at Black men, because if you're not over here with us, then we're not losing anything. So I mean, if you're going to be happy, that's fine, but it's not a get back. It really isn't. So that whole I'm going to go get me it's okay. Well, go get them.
It was like, good luck. No, literally, it's like.
Yeah.
I hope it works out and it's healthy, and you don't end up on the 10 o'clock news as a missing person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, literally.
Yeah, and we've had, and there's been some of that. I try not to, get on that too much, because that happens all across the board with every group. But my whole thing is that, just if it's a natural preference, then it makes sense, and that's what you really want, and and I don't have any issue with that. It's just I like to see the organic, development. But it's just very interesting that this whole Kelce thing and Taylor Swift and the Black ex-girlfriend. I guess in some ways they thought that basically he was theirs to some extent because he dated a string of Black women, and I see it as he kind of wasted their time and said, "Look, I'm gonna do what it is I do, and then when I'm ready to get serious, I'll go ahead and pull from my group." Which when this whole thing, yeah, exactly.
Right, and that's what I say too. I mean, and maybe I need to reiterate this more, and whether or not women are listening or not is another thing. And there's women who hate watch the women who say all you do is bash Black women, but they're on like every video. But it's like, yeah, you don't have to guess when a man is interested in you, when the man sees you as wife material. You don't have to guess. Yeah. So if you're like trying to figure it out and it's like he's unclear, then run. That's just not it. Like guys that pretty early on know, and even if they don't know, like, okay, they're not fully sure that the wife material, like they know enough to know, like, hey, I'm still testing this lady out, and I want to keep her close. Like I want to make sure that I keep her close before I released her or whatever. So like, you don't ever have to guess though what a man feels about you when he's serious. Never, especially today when I think guys are so desperate to like, not like desperate of like, oh, I'll just see the woman, but like to the point to where they're willing to inconvenience themselves and go to cultures they don't know just to find a woman or a wife. Like if men are at that point, like good women, I think are really going to stand out.
Yeah.
Like good quality women when guys, they're just surrounded. So
I make the argument that somewhere between, 25, 26, 27, you're already done. You already found your husband, you're married, and you're generally done before the age of 30. And if you're really good, you can get it done before the age of 25. But then when you talk about that, women kind of balk at it. But at any rate, I don't have too much to say on it. It's just this whole thing just seems kind of weird. Like you literally have women talking about how Taylor Swift is a downgrade from the Black woman that he dated. Like it doesn't make any sense. And why would you be surprised that he would actually pick a woman from his racial group? Like why? Like, and because we all know that eventually when a man marries, he generally marries somebody from his group at an 80% plus rate. That's every man across the board.
Yes.
So
yes.
They're trying to, but they can beat everybody, but all of them can beat the odds though, every last one of them. So, but at any rate, I don't want to hold you up, but thanks for letting me up. Good discussion, good talk. And, I'm sure we'll see some more on this, but I just would like to see it happen organically and these women not trying to force it. And these women, the other thing too, is those women being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Because, if you're a smart dude, you're like, oh, well, they want us anyway. All I got to do is play around with them. And then when I'm ready to settle down, I'll get somebody from our group. That's right. I called this like a decade ago when I started seeing this divested swirler, all this other stuff. So anyway.
Right. All right. Got you. No, I totally agree. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. I'm going to try to get to other calls before I wrap this up.
Yeah, definitely. Take care. Take care.
Okay, what's going on, Chaos?
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yes.
You know, Avatar's up. Anyway, was these tweet? This is Twitter that they're hitting on Kelce's Twitter and saying these things to him direct to his own Twitter account.
Yeah, some of the stuff I references was Twitter. Yes, it was Twitter, primarily, like those things that went viral. Or X. I think it goes by X now.
Oh, yeah, it's still Twitter, no, that's good. But yeah, I get you. All right. I get you. My thing is this. It's proven evident, and I was trying to reach out to somebody about this particular book she wrote, The White Man's Whore. The White Man's Whore. I know you heard about this.
I think someone just referenced it. Is this like a historical book of like the history of Swirl? Like, what's the context?
You want to know the real honest truth about it? It's a pamphlet. It's not even considered a real book. It's under 100 pages.
Wait, is it written by like a historian, a sociologist? What's the context?
No, this is written by a woman. You could look her up. Not give her name because I don't want to give her on this channel. But I think she's mixed.
Okay, all right.
Shay, she's mixed. So she wrote this book. And go ahead. Hello, say something.
I've been meaning to cover off. There's so many things come up. But when I went to a museum recently, like maybe a month or two ago, that it was supposed to be about the Black or diasporic experience. Almost the entirety of the art there. Not only was it from a Black feminist perspective, it was specifically a Black swirler perspective. Like there is one that was called The Patriarch's Playmate, and it was Black women who were in like lewd positions, different lewd positions. And there's another picture of this Black woman with a mixed child. And then like the only child I saw in there was a mixed mulatta, but like the whole thing was just weird. And there's a picture of a Black woman positioned as like if you look at the description, like she's positioned as like a sex slave, literally, and then there's another like there was just some weird stuff in there, and I'm like, what? Like this is supposed to be the history of the it was not even America. This is like supposed to be the entire diaspora. It was just wild. So I've been meaning to cover that off because I'm like, wow, like if I was a person who came in who wasn't Black and wanted to understand about the experience, I would walk away thinking that all Black women do is just sleep with white men. And then that Black men are exclusively gay. Because I think the few references of Black men there, if they were even there, were they were just all gay.
Selectively choose by default. They choose that now. And I'll be honest with you, if you do look research on her, she doesn't have really a strong following. I think that book she released was like 2 years ago, and doing all that, it did not even gain her extra couple thousand followers. If you know what I mean. So it's like they create these books and content just to draw attention, but when you really do some small research, it's not adding up to really are you really about this? Because to really put it out the white man's whore, that's degrading. And I think because she put it out there, she's not getting a following because a lot of women, depending on her age, are not rocking with that. In my opinion, Shay.
Well, I think many are, but just maybe they don't want to be honest about it. This is the
that's true.
Because they wouldn't want to say that. Like again, the amount of women who all of a sudden in my comments are just like, we love our Black men, we love this and that. I'm like, which is great, but I'm like, why I don't see you on my lives? Why I don't see my videos? All of you who love Black men and love the Black community and would never ever think about, because this is all that I got. Anytime I talk about swirling, all the Black women come out of nowhere who have only exclusively dated Black men. They're all there. And I'm like, where are you at when all these things happen? Where are you at in my lives? Where are you? Like, why are you quiet? I would love to hear from you. I would like to hear your perspective, but you're silent when it matters. So I'm like, a lot of the stuff I think personally is gaslighting. And they even alluded to that in the study when they were like, these women say, oh, no, I would never date out. And they say that they use the word, I think, like vehemently in one section. Like they'll vehemently say, oh, we would never date out. But then when it looks at their preferences and how they filter and who they choose, it's like, we see what's going on. So you know, it's an interesting thing. But I do appreciate you calling. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, and then I'm going to move on to the next caller.
I think that's it for now. Like you always, it's late night, so I might do some of my channel in like a little bit.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and yeah,
right.
you have a good one. What's going on, Demetrius?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, cool. So I was kind of upset that Kelce kind of said that what I was gonna say before I got the chance to say it. Basically, these divested chicks, they have an entitlement to white men, or they, at the very least, they feel like they do. Because if that weren't the case, then they wouldn't be so mad about it. And the very fact that they got mad about something so natural like this shows that there's something, at the very least, on some level, mentally off with them. Okay, and it's maybe it's socially awkwardness, like maybe it's like disconnected from reality. Maybe they're just chronically online, but there's a disconnect somewhere. You have to, you know what I'm saying? You have to concede to that point.
I mean, I mentioned that before. I'm like, there's no affirmative action in dating and mating. Sorry.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. It's people's preferences. Now you can ask, we can, have a deep discussion about what shapes preferences, what causes it, but nevertheless, that's what it is. And generally, men across the board of all races typically find interest in their own race of women, and I don't see anything wrong with that personally. Although since
it's natural,
it's quite strange, and which is why when I address it, I always get pushback. I get everything, right? You give everything from the white men. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. The one who gaslight me, to the swirlers and divestors pretend like they love their black kings. I just get everything. Everyone wants to just have amnesia and pretend like there hasn't always been a group of women who are self-hating. Like they just want to pretend like it doesn't exist. So I'm like, all right,
exactly. It's just chronically online, and that's all it is.
Right. So, yeah.
I'll end out on this because I know you want to go ahead and speed things up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So number 2, and this is my last point. I want to expound on that whole thing that you brought up earlier, that white men aren't coming to save you.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. A lot of y'all who are chronically online need to go to a damn American history class and pay attention this time. The same group of people who did what they did to the Native Hawaiians are still currently somewhat sort of still doing it to the Native Americans.
It's still happening in Hawaii too. That's a whole other thing.
I'm sorry?
I said I noticed that in Hawaii too, but that's a whole other thing. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, like the same group of people who are doing what they did with like the Native Hawaiians, forcing them to the smaller islands.
Mm-hmm.
The same group of people who are doing what they are currently doing to the Native Americans on the Native American reservations. The same group of people who like kick and topple over lesser countries for fun. You expect those people to come save you.
It's just all bananas. That's why I said before, we can all find. I'm getting echoed for some reason. Okay, yeah, but I'm like, obviously there are good people out there within any race who would love you for who you are and not see your blackness at all as an issue. But we also can't pretend like there isn't still a culture that exists out there. What did I talked about just a few months ago, how there is a school of, neo fill in the blanks, right? I think, I don't know if it was out of Utah, but I think they talked about it in some major news source, like schools that are happening. All you got to do is go on Twitter and see the rise of very problematic speech, not to mention the different interactions I've had on my channel randomly. So it's like, we're not going to sit here and pretend that there aren't still people out there who have that, for lack of a better term, colonial or oppressive mindset, and they don't like blackness. They don't see it as equivalent. They may sleep with it, they may have fun with it, but they don't perceive you as equal. Still exist. Let's not act like it doesn't. Not everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly why I brought up that point about the Native Americans today. They don't even treat those people like humans.
Right.
And it's crazy because assuming that you actually know your history, then you would be able to put 2 and 2 together.
Folks.
But these people, they just either they're straight up stupid, ignorant, or they just don't really care about history like that. And if they actually picked up a damn book, then they'd actually realize how stupid they sound. But that's all I got for you.
Thank you.
Peace.
I'm trying to think who was it that I heard say, if you want to hide anything from Black person, just put it in the book. I don't remember who said that. I don't know if that was a content creator or I don't remember, but like it's a thing. I love us, but we don't like to be reading sometimes, and we do not always. We don't. I'll say this. I've had historians on my channel, and I've gotten very little small views. When I've had actual PhD historians come on and talk about our history, little support, very few views. But I come on and talk about this Black woman with a bad weave was twerking on a gas station and she got pulled over from the popo. Oh, I'm getting 400 live views. So anyways, what's going on? Mr. Z? What you got?
What's going on, Shay? That saying is old as hell. Black people been saying that to each other. If you wanna hide, something from Black people, put it in the book. So yeah, that's an old saying. It's not even social media old. It's like a couple decades old. A few decades old actually. And it's not exactly true. People in general in America don't read. I think it obviously it's more egregious for Black people. But yeah, we definitely are. Especially at this era of history, we're definitely social media, 7 words in a meme. Oh, that's how I get my news type of generation. So especially for younger millennials and Gen Z, and by the way, certain people that's in college and university, same thing. They get their information from like Facebook and whatnot. So thank you for having me up, Shay. So something that Kevin C said. No, Kev, let these people try to force it, right? So let these divestors and swirlers and even the non-card carrying divestors and swirlers try to force the interracial issue because, these are first world problems.
Yeah, that's true.
It really is because, we live in a quote unquote advanced society. These people aren't going to starve if they insult one group of men for another group of men. And that's okay, And I agree with you. These people will be most likely chronically single. The other brother that was speaking earlier before me, I don't think that a history book would change any of this. I don't think these people opening a history book will change any of this because they're aspirational, right? This is about proximity. And as you were saying, and as the dating divide spoke to, these people are aspiring for a particular lifestyle and a particular access. It really is ego. Look at what I could do, especially, we all know colorism, texturism, featureism, right? Body shaming, et cetera, et cetera. If you are a heavy-set, darker-skinned Black woman with a broader nose and kinkier hair, right, which, our sisters tend to have, and you could pull you an upwardly mobile white man, do you understand what you are to your girls, your friend circle?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
So, we don't only hear this from Black women, we hear this from the Mindy Kalings, right? We hear this from East Asian women also. We hear this from Latina women. It's the first person to ever call me attractive was a white man, right? And it's like this gaslighting ass technique that they use. Like, let me get this right. So the 2,000 billion trillion zillion white men that passed you throughout your life that said nothing to you. You're only counting like the one random weirdo white dude that complimented you, right? So and maybe he wasn't a weirdo either way. What it really is saying is you're not paying attention to your environment, right? This reminds me of the street harassment campaign thing that was going on a few years ago, and how they partition out all of the white men that might have said something, and they only hyper focused on the Black and Latino men that might have said something when this more thicker white woman was walking on the street, purposely attempting to bait wearing something tighter and et cetera, having the look that a Latino or a Latino or a black dude that would be into a woman outside of their demographic would find attractive. So like, and then saying, well, it's not that white men don't, but it's that they do it in a different way, right? So like, at the end of the day, what we're dealing with this Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift situation, are black women openly competing? And yes, to answer your question, yes, they are willing to compete for white men because white men, access to white men automatically means status.
Okay.
That's what it is. It is status, it is access, and that's okay. The black community needs to get over it. Yes, you have raised neoliberal, consumerist, materialistic black women who use relationships with non-black men as a status marker. Right? And that is a woman of color thing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So it's interesting that you say that black women are willing to compete. How?
Mm-hmm.
You think there's going to be an increase in gym memberships? Are we going to see more charm school? Are we going to see more black women country music? I'm just curious how is this looking, or how is this happening in your perspective?
I think yes and no. You will have black women who truly want to have that status marker, so they will go to the gym if they're not in the gym already. Right, that will exist, but I think much of this is just gaslighting techniques towards black men because they think black men think of white men the way black women think of white women, right? They don't appreciate the masculine aspect of the conversation.
Okay.
They don't understand like a well-to-do black man could he's not going to be exactly where a chisel chin Chad is, but he might come in second place, a close second too. So. I don't think they appreciate that,
Yeah, and I think that's where there's nuance to this, right? Because like obviously, a 6'4" muscular, 6-figure black man compared to a short, chubby, bald-headed white guy that's making $40K. Who's going to be pulling more women? So of course, like there's class and there's different things to take into comparison. But again, if you're looking at comparable comparison to comparison, people on the same level, what they're getting. That's a whole different conversation. So.
And yes, and continue to answer your question. I do think that, but I think like I was saying, the other group is just attempting to gaslight. They're using these mythical, magical white men as a diversionary tactic. They're using it to gaslight black men. They're using it to insult black men and black men masculinity. They're using it to make a statement about history. Look, these men went around the planet, raped, conquered, pillaged, and did all of this thing and won a proverbial race war. And you, black man, you haven't. So you're on the socioeconomic bottom. So we don't have to listen to you, and we can do whatever we want. And we could. It really is if I have to lift a single pinky finger to do anything, then I'm no longer feminine. You put me in my masculine state, and from this point on, it's F you black men. Where we already see from multiple celebrities and et cetera, that there are black women that are perfectly okay with earning more than their white male counterparts, and that doesn't take them out of their quote unquote feminine. Because
that's real life. Real life, the 2-person income right now.
Yes.
That's real life, and there's nothing. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that's what women fought for. That's what women fought for. So, and you've talked about this, right? How these aspirational lifestyles are really going for a top 1% lifestyle that not even most white women live. I know plenty of white women who are working right alongside their husband, paying the bills, really sharing the load. That's what most Americans are doing across races. So this whole this comparing your life to the life of a mythological white woman, or one that's not even real. And even my friend Laura said this, right, where she was like, yeah, I've had people just assume that I'm rich because I'm white. I almost got. She said she almost got sued for it. The person thought she was rich and she was blonde, and she's like,
the accident story. I remember speaking to her about that. Yeah, came back for the money.
It's so disconnected from reality. If you're really around other communities or other races, you understand that they really struggle in a lot of these different ways too. And so it's just it's a delusion because you're not talking to these people. If you talk to these people, you would know that they have some of the same issues.
You know, and it is that I understand, right? So like
Mhm.
if we think about it, you know, to see what has happened on this planet over the past 5 or so centuries, I
Yeah.
can definitely understand where women of color are coming from, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What I say is this is why you're supposed to build with your man. So to be very clear, women of color outside of the black race, so like other women, non-black women, better yet, they're not just gonna let you hop over and just start picking, like and like you said, rummaging through their top tier men, and they'd be like, wait a minute, we have an influx of black women all of a sudden in the Asian community and in white
No.
society and upper echelon white and mestizo Latino community, like all of a sudden all these slim, dark skinned, attractive black women that if they were that in the black community, black men would be picking them up left and right. All of a
Right.
sudden, they're running over here and they pulling all of our tall, good-looking, well-to-do white men, Latino men, and Asian men. Like, y'all think that's just going to be a thing?
No.
First of all. Secondly, that would mean exactly what we're saying, what the title means. That means you're actually willing to compete. And, you know, our favorite colorist queen, Shay, she actually did say that when that Business Insider article came out, she reluctantly said, black women, you're going to have to compete. But she was saying that for non-black men, though.
Wait,
and I'm like,
what insider? Remind me, what insider?
there was a Business Insider article that spoke to the difficulty, and this was like maybe maybe 5 or 6 months ago at this point, maybe. I mean, yeah, something like that, maybe 4 months ago, but something around that. That spoke to black women on these PWI campuses and their difficulties navigating dating scenes, right? And it spoke to
Is
if
that
you put business
live on that? Did you do live on that?
Yes. If anything, email me and I'll send you the thing, or you can look it up too. If you put Business Insider and black women, it'll eventually come up because it's like I said, it's about maybe 4, 5, 6 months old, something around 4 or 5 months old, something like that, right? So
Which
and
is
yeah,
like
so go ahead.
black women navigating predominantly white college and different things like that, right? That are
Yeah, and dating and stuff like that, and it spoke to how, you know, these non-black dudes, they're willing to, like we all know, they're willing to have fun with black women, and then these same dudes that tell black women, well, you know, I'm not really interested in a relationship, and then like she'll see him walking down the hall holding the hands of like a non-black woman later, right? And it just, you know, and it spoke to, you know, black women in these, you know, going to these frat parties and how to frat. We already know what these frat parties are, bro. Especially like black frat parties, you already know what that be about. But let alone non-black white frat parties. Come on, man. Like, so, and how black women feel uncomfortable in these situations. And there was a tone of like, we need to colonize this space for black women. And like, if you read it, there's an undertone of like, it's kind of not fair that black women are not having an easy time at it or easy go at pulling non-black men, particularly white men. And like the undertone is like, it's so desperate.
I have to now because it's like this stuff continues to. The amount of gaslighting to me is so fascinating with respect to all of the not only anecdotal but statistical and even scholarship around what we have all known to be true personally in our lives since we've been born as black people. We all know of men and women. It's like some of this is just the impact of colonialism and just the different experiences that we've had just historically. Right. So it's like, it's not surprising, but it's like, why do we want to pretend like it hasn't impacted people? I think it just makes some people uncomfortable to really acknowledge the truth.
I think we have it's not even an inability, it's a refusal to accept that the way many people see black people is as an anathema to wealth, right? And they see us as the permanent underclass. And that is both something we have to work on, but something we have to actively work on dismantling coming from non-black people. And
black people feel that way too about themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, black people do feel that way about that's exactly where I was going. So when I listen to some of these swirlers, divestors speak, or even ones that are not card carrying ones, but that like have this kind of weird aspiration, I often think to myself, like, okay, if you view black men like that, do you not understand how non-black men view you like that?
Exactly.
Like, do you think like, okay, but he's still a man and he's been raised to do for women, so he's been raised to do for even a black woman if he so is inclined to, you know, be in a situation with a black woman. I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds nice, but like we like to say, like, what does the interracial marriage rate says? What does, you know, what do we see from books like The Dating Divide? And the reason why that this matters in the grand scheme of things is I'm not about telling black women what they shouldn't do, what they can't do. What I am saying is your insatiable inferiority complex, excuse me, your insatiable inferiority complex, it affects the children, it affects you, it affects black men. Because the way you then move about in the black community concerning black children, other black women, and black men is as a person that doesn't appreciate that we're only 50 or so years out of Jim Crow. The things that you're speaking of, right? Like, I don't think people really appreciate what Jim Crow was, especially like some of us as millennials, particularly younger Gen Z, even younger Xers. I don't think they really appreciate like what black Americans, you know, you and the brother were speaking about Hawaii, and you were saying, you know, like, it's kind of still happening, and it's kind of still happening on these Native American reservations. When you and I'm in Florida, for those of you that don't know, I'm in South Florida. When you hear DeSantis talk, when you listen to what he's trying to do with Black American history, and I understand some people are correct about, you know, some of these Black historians trying to shoehorn a particular other agenda within Black history. Absolutely correct. You're correct about that. With that said, though, understand that the governor of Florida is not going after African American history because of those reasons. Right? That's surface level BS. That is not why he's actually going against the history. He's and I'm tying this to the overall subject by saying, like, he's going after the history so that your children in the future look at their current socio-political position and then blame other black people.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And I will, well, this is me when I'm at fun price, because I do need to kind of get off finish cleaning with my husband.
And I can make one more point after that, Shay, and I'll be out your hair.
I talked to, I had a chance, I think I'm going to post about this later, but I had a chance to meet with my 92-year-old great aunt a few weeks ago in Texas. And we had she just shared some really amazing stories with me. She's a beautiful woman of God, just has just such a sweet spirit. And she was telling me about, you know, some of her experiences growing up on, you know, being on a plantation, and how her family got into sharecropping, and some of the different issues that she experienced with, like, literally the KKK and her brother, like, running for his life, like real stuff. Yeah. And I mean, I think, you know, luckily she's still coherent enough to be able to pass on this information. And I think right now is actually trying to compile some form of a document so that we can all look at it.
Ooh, that's good.
Be super powerful. But it's like, I think sometimes just not having that connection with the older generations and understanding their experiences and what they went through is why some of the things can happen. I can go to my grandma, who literally left the South, and alluded to different situations where, you know, white men at the time were trying to take advantage of her, and that happened. And there are still people who believe that way. It doesn't mean it's all white men. It doesn't mean it's all racism men, but it's like, it doesn't also change the fact that that has happened, and those men had children who had grandchildren who are still passing that on. So it's like two things can be true at once. I can respect and honor a culture, and also recognize that culture has a history of doing things towards my people that have been negative. And I think people have a hard time. People have a hard time sitting with that complexities of I can respect you and love you and honor you, but also know that this was done, or this is still happening in your community. This is still happening in my community. You know what I mean? So
black women are the most disrespected, unprotected, disrespected group of people in America. That's a Malcolm X quote. I'm paraphrasing. I kind of butchered it. What people don't understand is he wasn't talking about black men. He was speaking about black women that were domestics. He was speaking about black women that were domestics and that were being targeted, as you said, in these white male homes, right? The white men that the owner of these homes and their wives knew, right?
Yeah.
Just like 12 years a slave, their wives knew that these men were taking advantage of black women. That's what Malcolm was speaking about. But guess who black women inevitably throw that quote in the face of? Black men.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
So we're witnessing women in general view dating as conspicuous consumption, right? They have a neoliberal assessment of men and masculinity. They view, and we're in the era of Ayn Rand and Milton Friedman, and there's no such thing as society, and there's the individual, the family, and etc. So when you view the world in that way, when you have a very neoliberal assessment of men and masculinity, when you view dating and relationship as conspicuous consumption, as encouraged by your capitalist overlords, you are going to put white men on that pedestal. So we take hypergamy and we ratchet it up until the knob breaks. Right?
Yeah.
And so it is a function of 26% of poor Americans being married, 39% of middle class, and 56% of upper middle class and above. And what that signifies is that we're turning marriage and relationship into more and more of an elite institution. And the people that are, not only that, but the people that are staying married are also those of higher classes. You factor in race and you just turn the entire situation into white men winning for the most part, other men and East Asian men and Asian men in general kind of have a little sliver of this where they kind of get to escape this for now. But I do think this obviously hurts the Black community, and it adds on to this weird divestment thing. And closing out, yes, it does seem that at least rhetorically for white men, and then they. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now? Maybe now. Okay. And okay, to close out, yes, there are Black women that are willing to compete for non-Black men, white men in particular, because of the neoliberal assessment of men and masculinity, and because they view dating as conspicuous consumption, and that's understandable. Black men move accordingly, right? For those of us that are all about Black women, still move accordingly. Mr. Z has a no interracial relationship policy. If you sniffed near a white dude once, it's a no-go. And it's because of this particular mindset, right? I am not coming second fiddle to the people that raped, pillaged, and conquered, and enslaved, and destroyed my and other Black people's ancestors, right? So I'm just not going to entertain a Black woman who tell me love is love, and I don't see color, and all this other weirdo stuff that you actually do see because you're chasing after the white dude. Shout out to Travis Kelce. Shout out to allowing us to use your relationship with another white person to see how weird some of these Black women are, and that they think they own white men now. I don't know what's going on with these weirdo entitled ass brat ass wannabe white women, Black women. Anyway, all right, Shay. Thank you very much for having me up, and you have a great night. And all right, y'all. Bye.
Shout out to you, Salih Ahmad with the 5. It says, I've been saying for years, just because the civil rights bill passed didn't mean the racists stopped being racist because it was illegal. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you everybody for being here.
Amen. That's right.
I appreciate you guys. This has been helpful. Again, if you missed it, you can go back and catch the replay. I kind of broke down a lot of information, looked at some anecdotal evidence, I looked at some data, and then I looked at my interview that I had with my good friend, white woman, who talked about, just the dating dynamics in the white community and how high value white men choose. So even if you don't want to believe me, listen to a white woman. She would be able to tell you a little bit more about her community than I am. But going back to the point as whether or not Black women are willing to compete for white men, I pose that question because it needs to be stated that there is competition. Whether you agree with it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you think the idea is unfair or not, that doesn't change what is going on. And as I said before, I think a lot of this stuff is just a distraction. And I would much rather encourage women to really focus on them, not focus on themselves, like don't deal with men like you deal with men, but get away from the delusion. A lot of the stuff is just delusion, Disney stuff that's keeping women away from their own internal issues. And hopefully you guys got something out of this today and learned something. Pass this along with anybody that you think may find it interesting. Let me know what you think down in the comment sections. If you guys have any other sources that you would like to provide that would be helpful for me, that would maybe help add perspective or maybe correct some things that I got wrong, please let me know. I like to look at sources. I like to look at studies. So leave that down in the comment section, or you can email me. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you're notified each time I go live. And this is fun. All right, guys. Well, we will talk later. And yeah, talk later. Okay. Bye.